So we are doing so much better time-wise this week than we did last week, yes? How many were here for the marathon service last week? An hour and 45 minutes.
Well, you just are starting.
All-time
No.
all-time record.
I even wrote a shorter talk today, everything. I'm so well prepared. Because one of the second congregational song that we're going to be doing is such a beautiful, anybody know it, By Thy Grace?
Yes.
And that goes on and on, it's gorgeous. So I'm going to leave time for that. But what a journey we have been on. Those of you who have been on this journey with me of maneuvering through this book, E Squared by Pam Grout, going through these 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments, one each week, last week being the 8th experiment. We have finally arrived at the week of the last experiment, experiment number 9. So it has been quite a journey we have been embarking upon together. Now I know some of you have been kind of coming and going and maybe doing experiments here and there. There are others that have done every single one of them. And then I think there's probably a couple people in the room, this is what, like what? But I'm not doing a total review. I did such a thorough review last week that it was like a talk in itself. But everybody has a book, right? Everyone's gotten a book. I feel like I have my music records crawling on the floor. You know, this is the first day of fall, so there's something in the air, right?
Yeah.
Sure. The sun. It's shining. A strange lot. So we have spent 8 weeks together so far. We had a couple weeks off there for my vacation, proving the premise that our thoughts create our reality. Number 1, we spent a week proving that God exists, right? Number 2, a week that our beliefs impact that field of potentiality that Kathy referred to in her meditation. That's Pam Grout's word, 3 words for God, field of potentiality. Week 3, that we too are fields of energy. Week 4, that whatever we focus on expands. And we, as a board right now, right, Davina, are working the abracadabra principle for 48 hours before our board meeting on Tuesday night, and I'll explain a little bit later in the talk why. Number 5, that our connection to God provides unlimited guidance, our connection to that field of potentiality. Number 6, that our consciousness impacts matter. Number 7, that our consciousness provides the scaffolding for our physical bodies. And then all last week, number 8, that we are connected to everything and everyone in the universe. So yes, indeed, right? What a journey it has been. But we're not quite finished yet. Like I said, we still have 1 more week and 1 more experiment to go, and we still have the lab reports to get for experiment number 8 until we have proven once and for all that our thoughts create our reality. So let's move right into the lab reports for experiment number 8. I always give my lab report first. And it was kind of cool because on Tuesday I always pray with my prayer partner, Patricia Galino-Lansky, who is the Reverend at the Unity Church in Charlottesville, Virginia. She co-ministers there with her husband, Don. So we have our prayer call on Tuesday, and we always catch up on ministry before we go into our prayer requests and pray with each other. So I'm telling her all about E Squared and just how incredible this book is and how much it's affected my life, brought all these truth principles that we talk about all the time into real life practical application for me and for the church, hopefully. So I was saying to her, she's on Facebook, I said, well, you know, Louise Hayes, you know Louise Hayes who wrote the book, You Heal My Life? Her production company, Hayes Publishing House, published this book. And I said, oh, Louise Hayes is always putting up posts about it. And I'm pretty sure it's on the New York Times bestseller list. Look for it. So I'm talking to her, and very often, and you guys should know this, when I'm talking on the phone, I turn on the computer. So I turn on the computer, open up Facebook, of course, and I go to my newsfeed. First thing on the newsfeed is Louise Hayes posting that by this Sunday, by today, the book is going to be #1 on the New York bestseller Times list. So I'm saying to Patricia, this is it. This is it. This is the experiment we're working this week. You know, the 101 Dalmatian principle, we're all connected. You and I were talking about it. I was saying it, and you know who posted it, who liked it, was Jeanette Cardozo liked it, so it was first on my newsfeed, because we're friends. And I said, look at Jeanette, you know, so this is how it works. So I hadn't even begun. I wasn't even trying to do this. So by Wednesday, we had to pick a target, right? We had to decide what we wanted that target to do. We had to put that target first and foremost in our mind and then be completely connected to them in every way through all our 5 senses and bring to fruition whatever it is we were wishing for, or really not wishing for, but affirming. So as you know, I have a disciples group here at Unity Church of Central Massachusetts, but I began my first disciple group in New Jersey. And one of those disciples, Jennifer Sachs, is an ordained Unity minister now. She has a church in Michigan. She just got married about a month ago, and I wasn't able to get out there for the wedding. And we are always playing phone tag. She leaves me messages, I leave her messages. We haven't talked on the phone in a year. Really pathetic. My personal life, we won't go there. So I said, I want Jennifer Sachs to call me. And so that was what I started focusing on Wednesday morning. And so what happened was at 3:30 that afternoon on Facebook, she posts a comment on my Facebook wall, which she never does. All we do is like each other. We like. She never writes anything. So she writes something. I said, well, that's interesting. And then we're both members of the ministers, Unity Ministers Facebook group. And she actually goes on that page and tags my name, writes my name, and thanks me for mentoring her in the disciples group and all that I had done for her. That was at 8:30 Wednesday night. I said, oh, that's interesting. So I'm still like sending out the vibes, call me, call me, call me. Next day, this comes in the mail from her. A card. She says, Dearest BJ, thank you so much for your beautiful card and your generous gift in honor of Manzel and my wedding. It was a beautiful day, and I know your prayers and blessings were enfolding us both. Despite the miles, I also know you and I are heart-connected in ministry. The shot of you inducting me as a prayer chaplain is in my church office. I'm so grateful for your keeping the high watch with me throughout this journey, and thank you for helping me know and fulfill my calling. I look forward to connecting with you soon. There's still much for us to share on this divine journey. With tons of love, Jennifer. So I never got the call, but I came close.
Yeah.
And this morning on Facebook, she like always posts Sunday morning what's happening in her church. So she has no idea about this. So I post underneath, Jen, I've been doing this experiment number 8, sending you vibrations and psychic energy to call me, but you never did. So I'll call you next week. So that's my lab report. Other lab reports. Who else did experiment number 8? Kathy will bring the mic around.
Come on, guys.
My mother's best friend, Jean, was engaged to my uncle, Billy, who died in World War II. And she always kept a memory box of my uncle. And she would never let us see it. But she promised when she died, she would pass it on. She died 2 days after my mother, 3 years ago. So I decided to send a message to her children to get the memory box. The next day, her son called me he wanted to get the memory box to me, and we made arrangements 2 days later. He came and gave the memory box, and we shared great stories of our mothers together as we cried together. We are blessed to have that box. I feel we'll get to know my brothers and my sister, and I will get to know my uncle, for none of us knew him. So it was a true blessing. I thank God.
Mm. Very next day.
Okay.
I have a really good one.
Okay. I know we're getting tired practicing the principles.
I'm here to speak for Oceana and Jean Marie Frost. Jean Marie Frost had wanted to see now. I've really heard these people, so it was Diva Primal Maitan? Is that the name of that? Mitten? Most wonderful I've ever heard. But anyways, Jean Marie Frost had wanted to see them very badly. He's been listening to them for about a year. And so I don't know if she meant for the same thing that I meant, but I think so. She was thinking about how she wanted to get tickets. She entered a contest and wanted to win. And she ended up, did she end up buying herself a ticket?
Yeah, Jean Marie is working this program. She works for me and my mom.
Yeah.
Really, really into it. And she was, you know, drawing the tickets to herself. And she ended up buying them because she didn't want to miss out. They hadn't come yet. And?
And then, after she bought herself the ticket, she won 2 more tickets. So I had been, in the meantime, thinking about how I want to draw in new resources for music and new inspiration and things like that. And that's what I was thinking about. And so when, I got a call in the morning, and she said, I have 2 tickets to this concert. And I didn't call her back right away. I was like, I haven't even heard of these people. I have kids. I shouldn't leave them in the evening. Like, all this stuff is going on in my head. And so I decided to call her back, and she says, I have these 2 tickets. So I said, okay, well, let me think about it. In 15 minutes, I'll call you back. I wasn't even thinking about the musical inspiration. Then it dawned on me. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go. I'm getting excited now. And so then I called 4 different people, and I said, whoever responds is the one that's supposed to go. And I got a couple of responses and people saying that they were busy or couldn't come. And actually, Oceana had been thinking of being surrounded by high consciousness people, friends, that will inspire her as well. And so she got that because she came with me. We met, and we drove out there. And let me tell you something, the music this morning is inspired by those musicians. They were so amazing. The chanting, the entire day the next day, I was just affected, and that is the power of music. The whole day, high consciousness vibrating all day. Everything I looked at was glowing. I looked at my kids and said, you're glowing, you're glowing.
And I know Arlene and Lois were there too.
Arlene, Lois, Kathy was there.
Oh, Kathy was too.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Fisher.
And
Mary Fisher. I'm not
So it was kind of funny because we're like, wait a second, there you are.
Oh,
But it was a really powerful experience,
Really,
just to
really
wish for,
incredible.
it's basically just wishing for something, right? And receiving it. And,
Well,
and,
you know,
and
affirming
it's abundance. It's the
Sending
abundance.
energy. We're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And Jean Marie had called me to say, who should I ask?
And did you say,
Yes.
you did? You said, thank you.
Yeah,
So see, we're all
I'm a music director.
Thank you.
That's how it all works.
It's cool. It was a very cool experience. So.
Cool. Anybody else?
Well, mine's kind of a funny, lighthearted story. After my sharing last week, I'm keeping it light this time. You would have had it. About a year and a half ago, I rescued this cat, an all-black cat, and he kind of was so thin and skinny and so sick, and it took me 9 months to get him looking like a normal cat, and he just got so big, and I have a little teeny place, and he's so much energy and high maintenance, and so I said, oh, he needs a big family, a home, you know, big house, and a place where he can just live grandly, you know? So I had been looking for a family for him for some time, and through a series of those kinds of interconnected thoughts, I asked Rachel if she would like to take him, and she said, oh, the girls would love a cat. And so on Monday, she came over and took the cat and litter box and case of food and everything, scratchy post, toys galore, and took him over there. So of course, like any good mother, Monday night, I texted her and I said, Rachel, how you doing? And she said, oh, well, he was doing really great and we were having a lot of fun and everything, but just a little while ago, he went under the bed and he kind of growled a little and he won't come out, you know. So I sat there after I finished my text with her and I said, oh, I'm going to send him a message. So I sat there and I sent him a message. And I told him that this family really needed him and that he needed to come out from under the bed and to let them love him because they needed that and he needed it too. And I texted her the next morning and said, how's he doing? And she said, oh, well, in the middle of the night he came out. He just hopped up on the bed and he went from bed to bed and everything's fine. And it's been fine ever since.
He visited each one of us on each of our beds to say hello to each of us in his own time. And I'm curious, what time did you send that message?
Between 11 and midnight.
Exactly. And he was up on the bed around midnight, so that's pretty cool.
So it works with animals too.
They call this one the Twilight Zone. Okay.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
All right, so this is the last experiment number 9, one that's finally got a biblical title, the loaves and fishes principle. And it's a beautiful one. This one is going to prove that the universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. Limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. And this is, of course, you know, nothing is ever by coincidence or accident or sheer luck. It's perfect timing for me. It's perfect timing for UCCM. Those of you who are UCCM leaders are aware of an email that I sent out last week. I look at the financial report every month. I think I'm on top of things and I understand them. And I had a meeting with Pat Sardi last week. And I'm like, oh, we're doing really good. You know, we're running a deficit of $3,000. That's not bad compared to last year. And she pointed something out on the budget of an overdraft. And what that means is we have another account of money that if we come up short of funds, we draw from that account, and it covers our expenses, and it comes out as being income, but it's not really income, right? It's sort of like, what is that when you take from so-so and that's it, whatever. So I said, oh, how much have we taken of that this year? And it was like over 9,000. So I said, oh, so we have a deficit of 13,000. So I haven't been reporting that to, obviously, the board. I haven't been reporting that to the congregation monthly. And it was kind of like a wake-up call. We had a lot of discussion about it in our prosperity class yesterday with my true students, because one of the things that happens at Unity Churches is if you're dealing with the appearance of something not maybe working out perfectly financially, people say, well, how can a Unity Church not be prosperous? And we had a really good discussion about it. It's not that we are very prosperous at the Unity Church of Central Massachusetts. Look at everything that we have here and all of you and all the wonderful services that we provide and all the things that we do. When you come into a situation where you are spending more than you're earning, all you need to do is come into alignment. It doesn't mean you're not prosperous. You get that? Yeah. It's like, so many of us individually are living beyond our current means. It's just a matter of looking at what is and blessing it and being grateful and moving from that point, rather than trying to live at a point that you haven't arrived at yet. That's why, sometimes when folks win the lottery or professional athletes, after they leave their careers, a year or two after they're out of the business, they're completely bankrupt, one of the reasons that happens, oh, and I can also give you examples of Unity churches who have been given church buildings, church facilities, but then find that they can't cover the monthly expenses. Why do you think those things happen? Consciousness. Their consciousness is not in a place yet for that level of wealth. Does that mean that they're not prosperous? That they're not still, connected to this field of potentiality that is limitless in its abundance? No. It's there, but what we have to do as wise stewards, as wise creations of the Most High, is be able to have clear eyes and understanding of where we're at right now. There's no shame in that, no guilt in that, no fear in that. So I was so happy to be reading this because this is exactly what we're going to be dealing with in this coming week. So Davina, when she got my email, she sent out the email, okay, let's abracadabra for 48 hours. So we need to do that. We need to abracadabra. But we also need to be clear-eyed with our vision and to be able to understand and give thanks for what is right now in our prosperity and get in alignment with that. Get in the flow with that. Do people understand what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't, do this experiment this week. Because this experiment is about opening up your eyes and giving thanks for what is, not what you think you should be having. People go through life like, this is not enough. I want more. Let me give you an example. Let's go turn to page 141. This is the premise. This experiment will dispel the myth that life sucks and then you die. Most of us, whether we admit it or not, believe life is hard. We believe there's only so much to go around, whether we're talking money, time, or popcorn at the multiplex cinema. Even people with Maseratis, is that a car? Let's say Mercedes-Benz. Even people with Rolls Royces in their garage spend way too much time figuring out how to get more. Breathe. Why? Because they mistakenly believe there's not enough. Is UCCM enough right now? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Even billionaires, even people with an overabundance of resources live under the oppressive spell of there's not enough. A friend of mine was interviewing the wealthy owner of a successful business whose company was launching a new product. Noticing the rabid dollar signs in his eyes, she asked him if there was a profit margin, a success index, a dollar amount of some kind that he would consider enough. The business owner stopped for a moment, sighed, and gave this reply, "Man, you just don't get it. There's never enough." It's like the game musical chairs. Everyone's worried that when the music stops, they'll be the one without a place to sit. We're rich beyond measure. Take that in. Are your needs being met, most of you? Oh yeah, they are. We're rich beyond measure, but we feel strapped, scared, and always on guard. Sure, we call ourselves an abundant society, but in many ways it's nothing but an illusion, a ruse, thanks to the ever-present "there's not enough" mantra. I bet Deval didn't play that one, or whatever her name is. What was the name? We're too busy playing musical chairs, running faster and faster around that illusory circle of shrinking chairs. Contrary to everything you know, the fish and loaves principle proposes that there's a natural law of abundance and that everything's okay. You can relax. So let's breathe. We don't have to bring in more money. Relax. We have to get into alignment with what is. Can we relax? Can you relax in your individual life? Why are you trying to make more money? What's happening to your life while you're doing that? Are you playing? Are you resting? Are you spending time with your family? Are you experiencing joy? Relax. It's passing you by, you can't take it with you. When Jesus prayed to multiply the fish and loaves, he didn't fret over how this might come about. He simply put all his thoughts into one laser-like formation, namely, that abundance and plenty were his divine right. You get it? Likewise, for the duration of this experiment, you're going to set aside your normal thinking patterns and allow them to be superseded by the remote possibility that there might be enough for everyone. Because we've been conditioned, folks, from very early ages that there's not enough to go around, and you got to get yours. We're very good human beings. Don't have a clue how to be a human being or a spiritual being. So one of the things I love about this chapter is she uses as one of her examples of evidence of this, guess who? The co-founders of Unity. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore proved this. Okay? This, the fact that our universe is abundant, unlimited, and strangely accommodating. So she writes about this on 151. She writes, for years, Myrtle Fillmore's life revolved around her cabinet full of medicine. Now you can replace that with anything. Maybe your issue is in health. Maybe your issue is lack. Maybe your issue is inharmonious relationships and you're always looking for the one. So her life revolved around her cabinet full of medicine. Not only did the eventual co-founder of Unity Church suffer from tuberculosis, which caused her to spit up blood and run a near constant fever, but she also had aggravated malaria. One day she attended a lecture by New Thought, who? E.B. Weeks, Dr. E.B. Weeks, who made the outrageous claim that God, who was all good, would never wish disease on anyone. Furthermore, he said if she aligned herself, did you hear that? Yeah. Align yourself with what is the truth. With this all-good spirit, she would discover her true self, which could only be healthy. Over and over, Myrtle began affirming, I am a child of God and therefore do not inherit sickness. She refused to judge according to appearance and praised the vital energy of God within every cell of her body. And little by little, Myrtle began to get better. Within 2 years, there was no sign of her old illnesses. Myrtle's husband, Charles, witnessed the remarkable healing of his wife and decided to try the same affirmations. He, too, was considered disabled. Thanks to a boyhood skating accident and a subsequent series of operations, his hip socket was badly damaged and one of his legs had stopped growing. He wore a steel extension to make his legs even. And he figured the best he could do was learn to live with the chronic pain. Like Myrtle, Charles Fillmore began to affirm that there is an all-good, all-powerful energy force. And not only was he completely cured of pain within a year, but his shortened leg caught up with the other one. The universe took care of him. So this experiment is about us going forth and for at least 48 hours this week, knowing that the universe is providing for us, that it's unlimited, it's abundant, and it's going to accommodate our every need. I love what she writes. The experiment will prove that what Sally Field finally figured out when she won the Oscar. You know, tonight's the Emmys. We remember what she finally found out when she won the Oscar for Places in the Heart. You like me. You really, really like me. You're saying that to the field of potentiality. You like me. And we know how we made fun of her. But we're not going to make fun of each other. It's going to prove how sublime our world is. For the next 48 hours, we're going to keep track of goodness and beauty. The record of history, of course, is written in blood, in wars, treachery, and competition. But as Stephen Jay Gould said, the fossil record shows long, uninterrupted periods of biological stability. In fact, it's a structural paradox that one violent act so distracts us from 10,000 acts of kindness. Why do we focus on the one violent act versus the 10,000 in direct comparison to it of acts of kindness? Human courtesy, kindness, and beauty, he claimed, are the norm. And he called it our duty, our holy responsibility to record and honor the victorious weight of all the innumerable little kindnesses that are all too often unnoted and invisible. This is to get you to pay attention to your life. For 48 hours, keep a journal and write down all the niceties, all the kindness, all the generosity, all the courtesy that is extended to you in that 48 hours. Pay attention to this benevolent universe, this field of potentiality that is meeting your needs each and every day in unbelievable ways, unlimited ways. You know, one of the things I said to my class yesterday, who at this table is starving? Who at this table doesn't have clothes to wear? Who at this table doesn't have a roof over their head? Let's wake up. Smell the roses, right? And the coffee. And say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for these blessings in my life. It's enough. I don't need more. So let's stand and join together in singing, By